Good evening and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin, principal of Simply Improve Health, and I help people to train better and longer, to have improved sleep, and to enjoy better quality of health in general using simple plant-based remedies and simple techniques. I also help people to live the life of their dreams by helping them to understand their dreams. I am also the dream detective. This evening, it occurred to me, it actually occurred to me a few days ago in a conversation with a colleague and friend that my vision of stress has actually expanded. As you know, I'm a stress management consultant, and I look at various ways of reducing people's stress, whether it be a physical stress or nutritional stress, which is something that I started looking into a few years ago for my own health, but realized that we're all suffering from nutritional distress. But my perspective of stress expanded even further when I realized that the biggest killer of people in terms of stress is financial distress. I mean, you may or may not know it, but the major number one cause of families breaking up, of couples breaking up, is money, finances. Not sex is too, believe it or not. So if you've been fighting with your partner or spouse or over finances, you're not alone. I think that's a problem that goes on all over the planet, whatever the circumstances of the people involved are. But the reason why I particularly became interested in financial stress was because I realized something a couple of years ago for myself. Despite having worked for about 20 years in the finance industry, whether it be private personal banking, high net worth individuals, in other words, or commercial banking. And in my last incarnation in banking, I worked as a stockbroker for Lehman Brothers, of all places. Glad I dodged that bullet. But what I realized was, following a series of family situations where I had to spend a lot of money quickly, namely to provide a funeral for my brother in New York, it dawned on me that even earning a decent amount of money as an investment, by the time I was ready to retire in another 15, 20 years, that the value of pension would be worth less than half of what it's worth now. The statistics are really depressing for people who work all their lives, try to live a decent life, save money, send their kids to school, etc. Particularly women who come out of the workforce to be able to raise children. The state pension here in the UK, which is equivalent to, say, Social Security in the US, will not support them. They will drop below the poverty line if they have to depend solely on state pensions. And that got me to thinking, I mean, that finances are a major, major, major cause of stress for everybody, whatever their situation, unless they're billionaires, and then they're worried about losing their money. So it's they've turned things on its head. But that we may be actually sitting on potential earners, gold mines, and not even realize it. And I'll explain from my own situation and tell you what I mean. For example, at the moment, I am translating a third book. I started translating as a favor to a friend. I translated a first book, which was small, but it got me recognition in certain circles. And another person from that same area, it was a book actually on martial arts, came to me and asked me to translate their book. Okay, great. And it was my first paid gig as a translator. But from that second book, someone that came out of the blue through an acquaintance of mine asked me to translate yet another book. And this is a substantial book. These aren't, each book has gotten bigger. At this rate, I'll be translating something the size of War and Peace before too long. But it's great. But it's something that I've done in the past as a hobby, or because I needed to do it for work or something or other. But it's a hobby that is actually lucrative. Good translators, and I can tell you this from reading things in translation and in the original language, good translators are hard to find. And when people find good translators, they have a tendency to hold on to them. And I have to say, I'm a pretty good translator, or people wouldn't be asking me to translate. So that was another strand of earnings that I had in me, but they hadn't realized or put to any good use, really, any lucrative use, I should say. That's one example. Another example, I mean, sometimes I didn't always get it right. Sometimes it actually cost me a bit of money but I learned quickly from the mistake and moved on. For example, I got involved with an investment group. I mean, investing in currency markets, foreign currency markets. And it, having been a banker, having worked with foreign exchange and what have you, it's something I was very familiar with, and wanted to become more involved in. Again, as an attempt to diversify my income. Well, that didn't work out too well because it was a little bit too rich for my blood, but I realized that quickly and didn't, my initial investment, where, I lost a bit. At least I found out and realized quickly enough that it wasn't the right vehicle for me. It was really for more people who were much more high rollers and a bit more willing to take risks than I was. Fair enough. So, but put that down. But in the doing that and getting it wrong, what happens? You get what you need when you need it. And this subject for my last live. I met someone in the course of that transaction that actually put me onto something that was much more in keeping with my philosophy of both income diversification, helping others, and low front-end costs. In other words, I didn't have to pay a lot of money to get involved with it. And it's paying off since December, when I first registered. Let's see, I've gotten about 1,600 pounds out of it. Not bad. That works out to maybe about $1,800, $1,900. Not bad. I mean, for a couple of months, and I wasn't really hitting it like crazy, but keeping an eye on things. So that was another strand that I had developed for myself, and one that that happily I could share with friends and family so that they too could develop an extra stream of income. Then it realized that in terms of my work, I needed to expand. And I have been talking about over the months how I had been stuck and not able to really move things forward in any way. But having had a transformative experience at my retreat, was able to move past that and develop new relationships, which have turned into new financial relationships. So that networking, that constantly talking to people, which I love to do, is something that is starting to pay off for me. So here's that, strand by strand, I'm adding and diversifying my income from translating to running a mentoring program, which is something I do. I administer a mentoring program that I set up, and it doesn't make huge amounts of money. It's a small organization and a charitable one. Nevertheless, it's taking skills that I have and working in an area that I know, which is psychotherapy, and turning that into an extra little bit of another strand of finances. So it's not necessarily that you need to go to get a second or third or fifth job. It may mean taking what you already have within you, what talents you already have, and diverting them into a different direction. Do you realize that the GDP of most countries is based on what we call in the US mom and pop stores, family run businesses, small businesses, small to medium businesses are the backbone of most countries' economies. Not the Googles, the Microsofts. No, it is we, the little people, the so-called little people that we keep everybody else up because they're on our backs. Think about that. So if you're tired of working for the man and it's like, you know what, I need to do something different, look to yourself first. If you have an interest or a hobby that people are always asking you to do this, do that, the other, turn it into a business. It could be, teaching people how to crochet. Who knows? It could be writing jingles for commercials. Who knows? But if there's something that you're passionate about, know a lot about, people are always asking you about it, why not see about the possibilities of making that into a business? My latest incarnation, if you will, is actually reclaiming a bit of family history. And, you will have heard in my introduction that I call myself the dream detective. And there's a woman in the US who calls herself that, and that's fine. I can do it here in the UK without problem. But it's about not only helping people use the power of their dreams to create the lives they dream of, but it's me taking on the family mantle and tradition of being able to interpret dreams. That is something that is inborn in me, fourth generation. And I've always pushed it away and shied away from it. No, it's got, it's a bit too woo-woo and too weird. Screw that. I have had more interest and more people coming to me because I'm being true to myself than, all the years that I did banking and now broadcasting and all kinds of things over the years. So it's about getting in touch with yourself, knowing who you are. You can find a way out of your financial distress. I mean, it may take the form of investing in things like cryptocurrency, which is which is something that I have looked into and have become involved in and is working for me. And it's opened up a whole world of contacts for me, not just people who are into network marketing or into cryptocurrencies, but all kinds of people from all kinds of walks of life from right around the world. So it's not about narrowing your vision, it's about expanding it and looking outward. But you have to start from within. You have to start to look at what skill, what talent do I have that I can share with others? What can I do that people would pay me to do? And years ago, when I was training as a psychotherapist, I had a fellow student say to me when we were working on dreams, as it happens. She says, you know something, if you were if I was looking for somebody to help me to understand my dreams, I would pay you. The penny didn't drop until a few until last November, really. But I got it eventually, that this was something I love to do. This is something I have a talent for. This is something I trained for. So why the hell not use it? Why the hell should I keep this gift from myself? Give it away. It's the gift that keeps giving, and the more you give, the more you get back. You only get back from the world what you give to it. And that was my gift. And so I've decided that to stop hiding it, stop shoving it in the back of the closet, and bringing it out into the light of day, where it can actually do some good and make me a living, help me to make a living. So in the weeks to come, I will be talking with on my own and having other people coming in and talking about ways that you can address your financial distress. Another initiative that I've become involved with, and is one that I've talked about here on lives and even interviewed people about, is the hashtag Power in Your Purse initiative, which is being spearheaded by good friend, colleague, Miranda Christopher. Now, and that's a particular initiative that's directed at women entrepreneurs. And having gotten involved in that, and that's something that's going to be launched very soon. So ladies, if you want to know more about it and want to get in, want to join while it's still heavily discounted before the official launch, get in contact with me. Drop a comment or send a message to me, and I'll give you the details. It's about women supporting women so that we all do well. It's a platform where if you're running courses, if you got a service you offer, if there's a forum you'd like to run or a workshop, you can do it there, all in one place, and have other women, like-minded entrepreneurs, womenpreneurs, I call them, there to support you, so that not only are you supporting each other's businesses, but you're also helping to change a culture. There's all kinds of things that you can do to alleviate your financial distress. But the first thing you have to do is get a handle on your finances, find out exactly what it is that's, your outgoings and incomings are, if you don't already know, and then look within to find what you will and will not stand with regard to investing, because investing does carry risk, and past results never guarantee future results. I mean, as a former banker, I have to say that. And if I didn't, I wouldn't be acting in good faith. But you have to assess how much risk you're willing to bear, and then from there assess what is it that is within me, what is it that I'm strong in, what is it that I could go on for hours about, and people would be happy to take that advice or information in, that I can use to construct some kind of business or income stream of some kind for yourself. And it's a process. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Even when you have a firm idea of what it is you could do, you may need to get additional training to be able to deliver that particular skill or talent. You may need to, hi Jack, how are you? Good to see you, sort of. That's my good friend who's turned being a therapist into being a small hotel owner in Gambia, from South London to Gambia. Good on you, girl. Glad you're still going strong. But you need to really be in touch with who you are and what you're about to be able to find what vehicles that you can use and bring to bear to create those additional income streams. And as anybody who's been involved with finance will tell you, diversification is key. I diversified my pension funds so that, even in the worst of years, I lost virtually nothing, because I spread the load and made sure that I had a good balance of more risky investments and more stable investments, and some things in the middle. And even now, looking at the different things that I do, I make a point of really now, instead of just jumping in head first and then finding out, getting my ass burned, and then having to pay for the privilege of the lesson, I take the time to really assess things. It's like, well, this opportunity sounds great. People are having good results with it. Of course, assess the risk of it and how risk averse am I to it, but also, is it the right thing for me? And I've had to sometimes hold up my hand and say that, no, I thought this was the right thing for me at the time, and maybe it was at that time, but as I've changed and I grow, I found that there was a shift, and what seemed a great idea at the time either had to be adapted in some way or had to die a natural death. And that's the reality of life, that, as we grow and change, our needs change, our perspectives change, and therefore even the way we want to invest or try to reduce our financial distress may change. I mean, think about it, especially with young people these days. Many may grow up without ever having held a proper job or had proper training, unable to buy a home or even an apartment or flat. I mean, so you're talking about people that, unless they find something within themselves to create income for themselves in some way, what alternative do they have but to try to depend on government handouts, government pensions, which, as I said at the beginning of this live, if you're a woman who stayed at home to take care of her children, that state pension will not support you at all. It's just not going to cut it. So that's my little rant on financial distress, and I hope that it gives you some ideas, or at least gives you starts a thought process where you think about what talents and skills that you have that can actually be turned into a business of some kind, or an activity of some kind that can be monetized. I challenge you. And if you have any ideas or you would like to discuss this further, drop me a message, leave a comment, whether you're watching live, or thank you, Jack, or you listen on replay. If there's a particular area around finance that you'd like to talk about, certainly between my own knowledge and expertise and the people that I know who are involved in finance still, we can perhaps put together a live on a particular subject with regard to finance. I will be having people back on talking about an update from Miranda about hashtag Power in Your Purse, and my colleague and friend Aiden Parr, my fellow ninja networker, to talk about financing, finances in terms of investing in cryptocurrency. And so there are a plethora of things that we could talk about with regard to finance. So drop me a comment, especially let me know if you found what I've said today of any value to you. And if Perhaps there is a particular track I should pursue with it. But I thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful rest of the week. I hope you've had a good Easter break or a Passover break, whichever one you've celebrated. And if you've been taking time off to be with your children over the next week or two, I hope you're having a great time with them and spending some really quality time with them. Because statistics have shown that children, if they had a choice between you giving them fancy gifts and you just spending some time, maybe just playing checkers or watching TV with them, they would take the TV or the checkers over the fancy gift. So think about that. Thanks so much for watching. Have a lovely, lovely evening and rest of the week. And I'll see you again soon, hopefully with another subject that will be of equal interest. Thank you again, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Bye-bye.